All right, so let's get into this now. The document that they have on their website that I think is very important to share with you all here, the document speaks of the US government being advised that it should influence certain cardinals in the 1958 conclave to bring about its own desired outcome. Okay, basically the US government being advised by someone to interfere or to try to influence the outcome of the conclave. Okay, and notice here on the side, we have an image of this, like, this is the American $1 bill, and this is George Washington, the first president of America, right? Notice the $1 bill says Novus Ordo Seclorum, and that means New World Order. That's what that means. So, you know, there are conspiracy theories about the US government being run by Freemasons and stuff. Yes, I believe that is like totally true, because I mean, even a lot of American presidents through history have been Freemasons, okay? And the whole idea of there being a new age, a new order, a new world age, all that stuff, that is like Freemason doctrine, okay? So what is the quote unquote new church called? It is called the Novus Ordo, the new order. It is Masonic. It is Freemasonry, right? The New World Order, and now you have the New Order of Mass. Okay, it's a Freemason Mass. It's not a Catholic Mass. It's a Freemason false Mass. So, and George Washington was a Freemason. That's not even like hidden information. You can Google right now, was George Washington a Freemason? And it'll say, yes, he was a Freemason. Okay, so the first president of this country, was a satanic Freemason. Okay, Freemasons believe that Lucifer is God and that kind of stuff. He was a Freemason, the first president of America. And that's why people say, like, Protestant heretics and stuff, like conspiracy theorist Protestants and stuff will say that, like, oh, America was founded as a Christian nation and stuff. No, it wasn't. America was founded as a Freemasonic nation, okay, not a Christian nation. The whole idea that you can be whatever religion you want to be, you know, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of this, freedom of that, all this whole idea of freedom, that is Freemasonry, is even in the name, Freemasons, right? That all of that doctrine is Freemasonic doctrine, it's not Christianity. That is satanic, Luciferian, Freemason doctrine. So America was founded from its very beginning as a Freemason country, not as a Christian country, okay? That's not true. And these heretics will always be like they say stuff like, oh, God supports freedom of speech or whatever. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. In the Old Testament, blasphemers were stoned to death. God doesn't support freedom of speech. How could you conclude that reading the Bible? How could you read the Bible and conclude that God supports freedom of speech when he literally commanded in the Old Testament that blasphemers should be put to death? That's speech, right? Blasphemy is speech. When you say a blasphemous thing, that's speech. God doesn't support free speech, okay? That's heretical nonsense. And the Catholic Church is well known for burning heretics at the stake, okay? So God doesn't support free speech, and his church doesn't support free speech. The whole idea of free speech and freedom of religion and all that stuff is anti-Christ. That's contrary to Christ. Christ doesn't support freedom of religion. Christ says you must believe in me or you're going to burn in hell. How can you conclude that means he supports freedom of religion? No. Okay, so continuing, and as anyone who is aware of what the U.S. Constitution teaches and the history of its presidents knows, the United States is a Masonic government. Okay, the U.S. government is a Masonic government, and many of its presidents have been publicly known Freemasons. People like George Washington and Franklin Roosevelt, for example, okay, were Freemasons, and this is publicly accepted information. The ideas of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, etc., are core tenets of the blasphemy that is Freemasonry. Note that the phrase Novus Ordo Seclorum first appeared on the US $1 bill in 1935. And who was president in 1935? Franklin Roosevelt, a Freemason. It is ironic because basically all Protestant conspiracy theorists speak about the Illuminati, Freemasons, etc., being like the evil secret rulers of the world and their primary enemies, but their religion of freedom of speech and all that stuff and worshiping the Constitution like it's a Bible is actually rooted in the teachings of Freemasons and the Illuminati. So The very people that they're claiming to fight, oh, we got to fight the New World Order, we got to do all that stuff, they believe the same religion as the New World Order. The Constitution is a Freemason document. That's what it is. It's not a Christian document. And you're claiming to fight the Freemasons and Illuminati and all this stuff while professing the same things that they profess. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that. Being obsessed with this freedom thing. That's Freemasonry. Christianity, Catholicism, does not support freedom of speech or freedom of religion. In the Old Testament, God commanded that blasphemers be stoned to death. God does not support freedom of speech. The Catholic Church is well known for burning heretics at the stake. God's church does not support freedom of speech. So neither God nor his church support freedom of speech, either in the Old Testament or the New Testament. If you research the teaching of Freemasonry, actually, I believe, I was kind of thinking as I was typing, but I believe the Diamonds have a pretty well done series of videos on their channel about the matter. You'll see that the Catholic Church is basically the arch enemy of Freemasonry and their number one target for destruction. Why? Because Freemasons are agents of the devil. They literally believe that Lucifer is God. They literally believe that the devil is God. Okay? And they believe that like the devil freed us from God in the garden. They believe that the serpent is the good guy. That's what they think. And we were imprisoned by God in the garden and the serpent freed us. That's what they believe. They are literally the children of the devil in a much more complete sense than most organizations. They literally believe that Lucifer is their savior, okay? So let's now look at the declassified document that I was talking about earlier with the US government being advised to interfere or try to influence the 1958 conclave.